Welcome back to Science to Sleep By. Tonight, we journey across millions of miles of empty space to a world that has fascinated scientists, dreamers, and explorers for generations. Mars, the cold, dusty planet glowing red in our night sky, has long inspired one of humanity's biggest questions: are we alone in the universe? For decades, NASA has sent orbiters, lander, and rovers to search for clues hidden beneath the Martian surface. Most discoveries revealed ancient rivers, dried lake beds, and evidence that Mars may once have been capable of supporting life. But imagine a different story. Imagine that one ordinary morning, NASA scientists gather inside a control room and receive data that would change human history forever. Tonight's story explores that possibility. What would happen if NASA found undeniable evidence of life on Mars? How would scientists react? How would governments respond? And how might humanity view its place in the universe afterward? Settle in, relax, and let's explore this fascinating scientific journey together. The discovery began quietly. There were no flashing alarms, no dramatic announcements, and no immediate celebrations. Instead, it started with numbers appearing on computer screens inside NASA laboratories. Deep beneath the Martian surface, a robotic drill had collected samples from sediment layers estimated to be millions of years old. Scientists had expected to find traces of minerals or chemical compounds. What they found instead was something far more extraordinary. Initial analysis reveals complex organic structures unlike anything previously observed on Mars. At first, researchers assumed contamination or instrument error. Such caution is standard in science. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Teams across multiple laboratories repeated the tests again and again. The same results appeared every time. Tiny microscopic formations showed patterns that could not easily be explained by geology alone. Their arrangement suggested biological organization. Over the following weeks, specialists in microbiology, chemistry, planetary science, and astrobiology examined every piece of data. Independent groups from universities across the world reviewed the findings without knowing the original conclusions. Remarkably, they reached similar interpretations. The structures appear to contain chemical signatures associated with living systems. While simple, they demonstrated characteristics that scientists had searched for during decades of Mars exploration. Inside research centers, excitement mixed with caution. Scientists understood the magnitude of what they were seeing. If confirmed, this would represent the first discovery of extraterrestrial life in human history. Before any public announcement could be made, every alternative explanation had to be eliminated. The scientific process moved slowly, carefully, and deliberately. Yet, with each passing day, confidence grew that humanity might be standing on the edge of its greatest discovery. Months passed as investigations intensified. NASA coordinated with international space agencies and leading research institutions across the globe. Additional observations from orbiting spacecraft were directed toward the discovery site. Every instrument available was tasked with gathering more information. Scientists knew that one dataset alone would never be enough to convince the world. The strongest evidence came from multiple independent sources. Chemical analysis revealed metabolic patterns that appear active rather than fossilized. Temperature fluctuations around a sample's site suggested ongoing biological processes. Most astonishing of all, researchers detected changes occurring over time. The structures were not simply remnants of ancient organisms, they appeared to be alive in some form, adopting slowly within their underground environment. Scientific conferences became intense centers of discussion. Researchers debated definitions of life itself. Did these Martian organisms share any ancestry with life on Earth? Had they evolved completely independently? Genetic analysis, as humans understand it, could not immediately answer those questions because the organisms use unfamiliar biochemical systems. Their existence suggested that life might emerge naturally wherever suitable conditions exist. Eventually, after countless reviews and confirmations, NASA prepared a historic announcement. The agency's leadership understood that every word would be scrutinized by billions of people. The statement was simple, precise, and careful. Scientists had identified compelling evidence of living microbial organisms beneath the Martian surface. The discovery had been independently verified through multiple methods and reviewed by experts worldwide. Within minutes, news spread across television networks, websites, classrooms, laboratories, and homes. Humanity had crossed a threshold. For the first time in recorded history, life was now to exist beyond Earth. The reaction was unlike anything previously experienced in modern history. Around the world, people paused their daily routines to absorb the announcement. News broadcasts ran continuously. Universities organized emergency discussions. Museums extended visiting hours. Social media platforms filled with questions, theories, and expressions of wonder. For scientists, the discovery represented the beginning rather than the end of the journey. New research proposals appeared almost immediately. Governments increased funding for planetary exploration. Missions already planned for Mars gained greater urgency. Engineers began studying how future spacecraft might safely collect and return biological samples without risking contamination between planets. Religious leaders, philosophers, and historians also entered the conversation. Many reflected on how humanity's understanding of existence might evolve. Surprisingly, most discussions focused less on fear and more on curiosity. The newly discovered organisms were microscopic and buried deep underground. They posed no immediate threat. Instead, they expanded humanity's perspective. Children in classrooms asked questions that adults had wondered about for generations. If simple life existed on Mars, could more complex life exist elsewhere? How many living worlds might be scattered throughout the galaxy? The discovery transformed those questions from speculation into scientific possibilities. Meanwhile, astronomers looked outward with renewed determination. Telescopes searching distant planets suddenly became even more important. The universe no longer seemed like a vast empty stage with only one living actor. Instead, it appeared increasingly likely that life might be a natural feature of cosmos emerging wherever conditions allowed. Humanity remained the same species, living on the same planet, yet the discovery subtly changed how people viewed themselves. Earth was no longer the only known home of life. In years following the discovery, Mars became the center of unprecedented scientific effort. New missions carried advanced laboratories capable of studying Martian biology in greater detail. International cooperation expanded as nations recognized that understanding extraterrestrial life was a challenge larger than any single country. Researchers gradually learned more about the Martian organisms. They survived in extreme cold, low energy environments and conditions that would be hostile to most Earth life. Their biology revealed entirely new solutions to the problem of survival. Medical researchers, environmental scientists, and biotechnologists studied these adaptations for insights that could benefit humanity. The discovery also reshaped humanity's long term ambitions. Plans for human exploration of Mars were redesigned with greater emphasis on protecting both planets from biological contamination. Every future step required careful consideration. Scientists had a responsibility not only to study Martian life but also to preserve it. Perhaps the most profound change occurred in human thinking. For centuries, people had wondered whether life elsewhere was possible. Now the answer was yes. The universe had demonstrated that biology was not unique to Earth. Even if Martian organisms remained simple microbes, their existence carried enormous meaning. They showed that life could begin more than once. They suggested that the galaxy might contain countless worlds with their own evolutionary stories. And they reminded humanity that discovery often begins with curiosity, patience, and willingness to ask difficult questions. The search that once focused on Mars expanded outward toward distant moons, exoplanets, and unexplored regions of space. The discovery of life on Mars did not end humanity's quest, it marks the beginning of much larger adventure. As the years passed and scientific understanding improved, researchers faced a fascinating question that had once belonged entirely to science fiction. Could communication with Mars life ever be possible? The answer depended greatly on what kind of life had been discovered. In this scenario, the organisms beneath the Martian surface were microbial, far too simple to exchange messages or thoughts. They possessed no language, no intelligence in human sense, and no awareness of the world beyond their underground environment. Yet, scientists were fascinated by the possibility of communication on a much more fundamental level. By carefully studying how these organisms responded to temperature changes, chemical signals, life exposure, and environmental shifts, researchers began building a picture of how Martian biology interacted with its surroundings. Every response was treated as a form of information. Every adaptation revealed another chapter in a biological story that had been unfolding for billions of years on another world. Laboratories around Earth attempted to recreate Martian conditions to better understand these life forms, while robotic missions continued gathering new samples and observations. The discoveries became increasingly remarkable. Some Martian organisms appeared capable of surviving extremely long periods of dormancy, awakening only when conditions became favorable. Others demonstrated chemical pathways completely unlike those used by life on Earth. These findings challenge many long held assumptions about biology. Textbooks were rewritten, university courses expanded, and entirely new scientific disciplines emerged to study alien ecosystems. Beyond the scientific community, the public remained captivated. Documentaries, books, and educational programs explored with these discoveries meant for humanity's future children. growing up during their era no longer viewed extraterrestrial life as a distant possibility but as a confirmed reality. The idea that life could arise independently on separate worlds suggested that the universe might be far more biologically rich than anyone had imagined. Even though direct communication was impossible, scientists felt they were learning from Mars every day. Through chemistry, adaptation, and survival strategies, the tiny organisms beneath the Martian surface were teaching humanity profound lessons about resilience, evolution, and the extraordinary diversity of life itself. In a sense, the discovery became a conversation across planets, a dialogue not conducted through words but through science, observation, and the universal language of nature. Decades after original announcement, historians would look back on the discovery of life on Mars as one of the defining moments in human civilization. Before that day, humanity's understanding of life in the universe had been based largely on theories, probabilities, and hopes. Afterward, the conversation changed completely. The existence of Martian organisms proved that life was not an isolated accident occurring on a single small planet orbiting an ordinary star. Instead, it suggested that biology might be woven into the fabric of cosmos itself. This realization influenced nearly every area of human thought. Space agencies expanded exploration programs to distant moons such as Europa and Enceladus, where hidden oceans beneath icy surfaces became prime targets in the search for additional life. New generations of telescopes scanned distant planetary systems with unprecedented precision, searching for atmospheric signatures that might indicate biological activity. At the same time, philosophers and cultural leaders reflected on humanity's place in a universe that suddenly felt more alive than ever before. The discovery encouraged greater international cooperation as nations recognized that understanding extraterrestrial life was a shared human endeavor rather than a competition. Scientific literacy increased, public interest in astronomy surged, and educational institutions experienced growing demands for programs related to space science and astrobiology. Yet, perhaps the most significant change occurred on personal life. Many people reported feeling a deeper connection to the universe after learning that life existed beyond Earth. Looking at the night sky no longer means staring into an endless void. It means gazing into cosmos where life had demonstrated its ability to emerge in multiple places under vastly different conditions. The discovery fostered a sense of humanity as well as wonder. It reminded humanity that Earth, while precious and unique, was part of much larger story still unfolding among the stars. Future generations would inherit a world transformed by that realization. They would grow up knowing that somewhere beneath the cold deserts of Mars, tiny organisms continued their ancient existence, carrying a message billions of years old. Life, once begun, can endure in ways far beyond human imagination. As we conclude tonight's journey, imagine standing beneath a quiet night sky and looking toward the small red light of Mars. For generations, it was a distant mystery. In our story, it became something more, a neighboring world where life found a way to exist. Whether such a discovery happens tomorrow or many years from now, the search itself continues to inspire scientists across the globe. Each mission, each experiment, and each observation brings us a little closer to understanding our place in the cosmos. Thank you for joining Science to Sleep By. Sleep well and may your dreams travel among the stars.